It's my pleasure to moderate this first session this morning, focusing on innovation ecosystem strengthening. You all come with a lot of experience in engaging in innovation ecosystems, either by focusing on distinct solutions and having this enabling environment to navigate through to scale, or with distinct programs to focus on strengthening innovation ecosystems or adjacent systems like an entrepreneurial ecosystem, a research ecosystem, an AI ecosystem, or a specific thematic ecosystem such as an health innovation ecosystem. We'll be hearing from colleagues from the Institute for Development Studies, and it's my great pleasure to invite Joe Carpenter, who is the Evaluation, Monitoring and Learning lead at IDS and the lead of an ongoing learning journey for the Africa Technology Innovation Program, ATIP, of the UK government, who will be presenting a couple of insights from the work and this ongoing learning journey. And for us, within this relatively short session, I think it's realistic to expect not the huge wows, things that you probably might have not heard. A main objective of this session is really for us to engage in critical reflections. What are we doing currently to strengthen ecosystems? What are we collectively learning based on our individual insights from our organization, from us as people? And how can we advance the field? So it's very much an invitation for us to be frank, to challenge each other in productive ways. And we'll be hearing from Joe some insights, and then engage you in an exercise to exactly do that. And I also want to acknowledge our colleague Chucks Daniels, who is a senior research fellow at IDS and a key part of this ongoing learning journey, providing massive expertise and input based on his background. So with that, Joe, over to you.
Yeah, so I'm Jo Carpenter from Institute of Development Studies, and I've been supporting FCDO with some accompanied learning work around their ATIP program. The leaflet on your chairs provides some background on what we're doing. Could I have the next slide, please? And so today I'm just going to run through quickly what we've been exploring around the ATIP program's potential system strengthening contributions. So this is our attempted organogram of the ATIP program. As you can see, it's a large portfolio of work working across different implementing partners. So RISA Fund, we've got Mika. Where's Mika gone? There he is at the back there. Mika is representing RISA Fund here today. So the program started off in 2022 with implementing partner RISA Fund, focusing on research and innovation systems. And then Global Alliance Africa is also one of the starting partners, working within the Innovate UK Innovation Agency. There's also some partners that came in later. I think Umar is represented here today from Sankore, working on strengthening links with policymakers in government ministries in Nigeria and Ghana. And then there's a UN partner, the Fungo Innovation Program, which is the only partner that's working in one single country on national innovation systems. So the work is mainly led by these three main partners, but there's also a Flex Fund, which allows FCDO to fund demand or priority-led research projects, and there's 16 grants under that element of the program. Kenya, Tony is coming tomorrow to speak a little bit about his work with Kenya. So Kenya is one of those grantees. So that's kind of a way that the program has been working to support other actors in the ecosystem. So it's a lot to get your head around and to work out what this work all adds up to. But that's what we've been trying to do through the accompanied learning process. We've been running closed space sessions for the implementing partners. And we're also, this week, trying to make connections with wider groups of ATIP grantees, which include Impact Invest in Ghana, for instance, to hear about their perspectives on how the program has supported system strengthening. We're also trying to connect with other people from outside ATIP to get broader views and perspectives on system strengthening that we can feed into the learning. And ultimately, we'll be producing 3 briefings that summarize ATIP contributions to system strengthening, with lessons for other similar funding programs. We'll be producing a briefing on governance of system strengthening and another one on grantee perspectives for funding. So, next slide, please. So, what does the African Innovation and Technology Partnerships Programme aspire to? Oh, have I got the clicker somewhere? Yeah. Okay, thanks, Ben. So this is the aspirational vision of the programme: strengthen innovation systems in Africa which drive inclusive growth and scale innovation and technology to address pressing challenges. And I think within the learning programme, when we set up the framework for it, we thought it would be really interesting to explore what the Africa means, like how African is ATIP, and what lessons is it delivering for how to support continental approaches to system strengthening. The other thing that we wanted to do with FCDO support is get behind this aspirational statement to the operational reality and try to understand a bit better what are the mechanisms for supporting system strengthening. So, we started by defining the system. This is Chuck's work. This table is all Chuck's work. We first wanted to explore how systems, innovation systems, are thought about in the wider academic literature. So within this learning journey, we're defining the system as something between the national innovation system, because it incorporates many more system dimensions than the sectorial system of innovation, and the transformative change framework, which then brings in even more dimensions. So you can see there's knowledge systems covering the science and research systems, technology systems including digital, industry or industrial systems, infrastructure systems for research and innovation, markets and finance, culture including beliefs and mindsets, which is really about shifting perceptions, and then policies and regulatory and governance systems. So what we've been trying to do, well, I just have to find my notes and the AC is quite strong. 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so that we have found through the learning exercises we've been conducting that there is evidence of ATIP projects and grantees working across all those systems areas. But the areas where they're strongest are where they're working across the whole portfolio, across all the countries they're working within, are these. So the entire portfolio, every country where ATIP is funding work is working on knowledge systems. Every country is also working on culture, including beliefs and mindsets. And every country is working on technology systems, including digital. So this is to say that that's the only systems they're working on. There's specific projects that are working on other systems, but mainly just on one country. So that's the difference. We've been looking for the complementary approaches across the system. So drawing on the literature, we think we can make a case for system strengthening approaches if a program is working across 4 or more of those systems. And there's 2 additional ATIP programs that the Fungoa program is also working on: markets and finance systems, providing access to finance, and Impact Initiative Ghana is doing that as well. And then within the technology system, including the digital system, Fungoa has done some great work in Tanzania linking Vodafone to smaller actors in the tech sector. So I think also it's important to mention Sankore. I don't know if Umar is here in the room, but if any of you have met Umar, this is the work he's doing, because the program is working in Nigeria and Ghana, linking to policies, regulatory and governance systems. So this also strengthens the case for the system strengthening, for the program having contributed to system strengthening within those countries. So I wanted to quickly, at a really high level, run through what outcomes ATIP has contributed to across the system. So within knowledge systems, research and innovation, ATIP has increased support for R&I in partner countries and contributed to more conducive environments for commercialization in universities. In knowledge systems partnerships, ATIP has helped to establish new commercial contracts, new partnerships, and it's linked startups to corporates, improving collaboration and developing capacities. Under tech and digital systems, ATIP has furthered the development of tech and digital startups, providing funding and building business development skills, and it has helped to support investment continuity at both large and small scales. And then in culture and mindsets, ATIP has incrementally and significantly shifted ecosystem actors towards thinking in a partnership way, towards thinking about partnership approaches which are rooted in the co-creation of solutions. And that has been done through improving risk perceptions and evidence in shared benefits around shifting behaviours and around viable investment options. So I think I just have two more slides. This one is some recommendations, some early recommendations for future ATIP-style programming. Within knowledge systems and R&I, the learning journey has surfaced that at the outset there's a need to develop robust indicators focused on innovation ecosystem strengthening and to promote data sharing across African systems. In partnerships, it's been important to develop effective mechanisms to build on existing relationships and networks, recognizing that systems are made up of people who are connected to each other. Within technology and digital systems, it's important to track and understand lessons related to how projects have pivoted or had to shift or adapt to the environment they're working in, and also to look at the outcomes behind human capital investments. So you can support strategies for tech and digital startups that are appropriate. And within cultures and mindsets, prioritizing investments which respond to national needs and priorities, and fostering cultures of inclusion which allow people on the margins of the system to ask for support, rather than having to style it out and sort of say, I'm very investable in you, allow people to have spaces where they can say, actually, I'm facing difficulties in these areas and I would need support. So, what does it all add up to? So ATIP projects are both more than the sum of their parts, to borrow Tom's phrase from yesterday, but they're also obviously situated in a wider system. And I think we're very grateful to FCDO for supporting the learning journey in a way that allows us to surface challenges as well as things that are working, and to allow us to have these spaces where we're talking frankly and openly with partners, because that's providing a lot of lessons on humility because of certain obstacles that are not surmountable by any single program but require a really joined up approach. So these are, I think this reflects some of the things Amma and Nasri were saying on the ecosystem panel yesterday, different ways of seeing the system from different points of view, all of which are valid. Fragmentation of approaches is coming up again and again, and the importance of leadership. So I'm going to leave it there, Ben, and hand back to you to moderate the exercise. We've got an exercise around filling in the blanks together. So I'll hand back to Ben to lead that, and I've got some slips of paper to hand out to you while Ben introduces the exercise. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. I do assume that quite many of those insights from the specific experience of the ATIP program resonate with your experiences, no matter where you work, be it in a national institution, an international funder, international implementer organization, or elsewhere. What we are really interested in is now kind of like a two-part reflection. The first part is, assuming you do work on strengthening an innovation ecosystem through different approaches, it can be that you're really focused on distinct solutions, right? But you have to consider the enabling environment. Or that you work distinctively on ecosystem strengthening. We are curious about your entry point. Is that entry point related to the development challenge, right? Is it related to the actor that you are focused on? We want to work with a National Innovation Agency and really support these partners in building capabilities and capacities. Or is it on the outcome? We are laser focused on better educational outcomes. And our way to get there is to strengthen the educational innovation ecosystem in country X. We're asking those questions because our working assumption is that that plays a huge role in how you think about the system, make sense of it, and what you're learning by intervening in that system. So when I say a two-part reflection, we first want to kind of ask, what's your entry point? But equally importantly, what is one or two things that you've learned in setting out to strengthen an innovation ecosystem? And when it comes to reflections about what have you learned, I find it really hard, to be honest. Particularly to formulate an insight that if you imagine a lesson to be on a scale from like very generic, you have to involve partners as early as possible. I'm sure you've read that plenty of times. I personally think, we should not write lessons like that on paper anymore because it's evident. So very generic lessons on the one end of the scale. Two, well, in Rwanda in 2013, it worked really well to engage actor X and actor Y to do A and B. That's too time and context specific. So you have to find the middle of the scale and really think about what is it that I've learned that a colleague who might be based in London in the FCDO, a colleague who might be based in Accra in the National Innovation Agency might benefit from, right? So if you think now about one or two things that you've learned, try to think about the colleagues in the room. Try to think of an abstraction level that makes a lesson adaptable. And I know that's not easy. I have a hard time with that. Working in the OECD, it's part of my job, and it's not easy. But that's the invitation. My post at the OECD includes also managing a community of practice of innovation leads for members of the OECD Development Assistance Committee, so bilateral funders, that's colleagues in ministries and in bilateral implementing agencies. And we are convening a learning journey right now as well with virtual seminars and an in-person meeting in March in Paris on innovation ecosystem strengthening. We're very much looking at adaptable lessons for funders when they design programs. So when you share now, think of those three target audiences. And as a side note, if you're not receiving the invitations to that learning journey, which we are doing in collaboration with IDIA, then please approach me because we'd love to invite you to those virtual seminars and then see also opportunities for you or colleagues from your organization to join that very technical discussion in Paris in March. With that said, we'd now love to invite you to share insights from your ecosystem work, a lesson. And we have one colleague who's going to break the ice, which is Mika Kiplagat, who is MEL manager for the RISA fund. And I'm just going to hand over to you, Mika.
Okay, good morning. I work as MEL manager with RISA fund. RISA is an acronym, meaning Research and Innovation Systems for Africa. We're funded by UK International, FCDO, UK International Development, and we implement in 6 countries. In Africa, we in Rwanda, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa. So the objective or the goal of RISA is to strengthen the research and innovation ecosystem. And maybe if I'm to go by the questions, actually, I think I could say that we started by, first of all, identifying who are the actors that we could work in the respective countries that we are focusing on. and then first understanding the ecosystem, the context in those particular countries. What is the situation like for research and innovation ecosystem? How is it like? What are the needs and what are the gaps? And then identified now the stakeholders and the actors that we could work with to address those particular needs. Our project is being multi-sectorial, focusing on various sectors, but the objective is to address the needs that are in the ecosystem. And some of those needs included fragmentation, actors working in silos, research and innovators are not able to access opportunities to scale their research outputs to the level where this can be taken up to inform policies and systems in the particular countries they have been implementing in. We also add the gap around the innovators with very good ideas, really not able to get the support that they are needed, be it capacity, be it the resource needs, so that they can actually be able to develop this innovation on these ideas to the level where they can actually be able to scale or commercialize these and translate this to, revenues and income generation. The innovators also, so those are some of the things that we wanted to address, and also linkages between research and industry that would actually facilitate commercialization. That has been very critical to us. So we have even elements of funding also for these particular innovators so that they can be able to scale their innovations. So having worked in these particular countries, we have been able to address some of these silos within the R&I ecosystems. We have been able to help the researchers to identify, to scale up some of their innovations, and also played a very critical role in influencing the policies and the structures and frameworks that actually facilitates a conducive environment for scaling up these innovations. I think one great learning that I think is probably the general learning that is cutting across is that you cannot work in silos. For us to be able to achieve impact within the ecosystem level, you cannot work in silos. Partnership and collaboration is critical. And I think the other thing again is that ability to go down and be able to co-create with actors, think together with innovators, think together with actors and say what solutions would work best in your context. What systems should we be strengthening? I think that has been also a critical learning for us, which has really helped us to work through and realize the impact that we have been able to realize. So generally, I think that is it, what I could say. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mika. There was a longer intervention that we are asking you to now provide, but now it's the invitation to you to share essentially a lesson or two from your work. What we want to invite you to is to be generous with leaving out details of the country context, not because it's not interesting, but at least for me, after I've listened to 5 or 6 kind of specific cases, I lose the ability to further follow the details. And I think for all of us collectively, it's more interesting to think about the lessons that could be relevant for all of us, as opposed to the specific country contexts. So anyone who would like to break the ice from plenary? I know a few of you, so those of you who I know, I would probably pick on, but thank you so much.
AI as an innovation tool. I think the insight we had is we had much better luck sort of getting them excited and walking together by breaking down the outcome. Even though we knew what the outcome was so far away from their daily life, they didn't really believe we could achieve it. So we had better luck focusing on sort of the first pain point they were experiencing, which was related to challenges around extracting and cleaning data. And we sort of, by reducing that time from 2.5 days to 10 minutes, we then got their trust and belief, and we used a sort of step-by-step approach. We then solved the next problem and the next problem in the pathway towards achieving that outcome. And we had a lot more success with that than trying to focus first on the outcome and getting them to believe that was possible.
Thanks a lot. Ask questions, but rather remember who shared and have conversations in the coffee break. Thanks so much. Who would like to share as well?
I'll just share very briefly some work we did. Carla, you remember this is from the work we did on the scaling stuff. So co-innovation platforms for sustainable transition to scale. So moving from talk to action. So basically, the framework has a couple of components with the problem owners, that's our governments, government agencies, and the communities, of course. And then you've got the solution collaborators, NGOs, funders, academia, etc. Then technology and enablers, basically solution-focused issues. And then, innovation and solutions. So I will share the part about the lessons that emerged from that very briefly. Excuse me. Basically, co-innovation platforms. Excuse me, let me just get my head right here. Right, first, got it. Addressing power imbalances in a co-innovation platform requires fostering open and transparent communication, creating mechanisms for equal participation, and implementing governance structures that promote fairness, inclusivity, and sustainability. Now, the technical and behavioral capacities that co-innovation platforms help develop have long-lasting effects beyond the co-innovation platform itself, so benefiting participants in their future endeavors and contributing to broader innovation and scaling ecosystems. I'm happy to share with the group the work that we did, and you can read at your own leisure. Thank you.
Possible to be perceived as fair by a wide variety, if not all, stakeholder groups. It's really the nitty-gritties and the how, and that's always so hard to get to. But thanks so much.
There's someone here, Ben.
And what my predecessor said, Mr. Mika, I think, I don't want to paraphrase him fully, but I really kind of, what he said resonate with what we do. My name is Ghislain Numbesi. I work for a technology company called Robert Bosch. I mean, the Germans in the room and everybody else who know is Bosch, home appliances, car parts, and all that. And to answer your question, very interestingly, we started, by the way, at Bosch, I'm managing director of Robert Bosch East Africa, on the one hand, but the reason me being here is at the same time, I'm the innovation hub leader for Bosch for Africa. So what has happened in the past, while we were trying to do innovation was, we were not very successful. I mean, we are an innovative company, but when you are talking about the ecosystem of startup, the way we were doing it was not very much successful. So what we decided to do in terms of collaboration, we said, okay, we have expertise in technology. We have IP in the room, in the house. So we want to be successful in Africa because at this point in time, our business in Africa was not or isn't working the way we want, right? So we said, okay, how do we make it happen with the brilliant minds that we have in Africa? So very interesting was we decided to collaborate, and very important collaboration point, the people are here in the room, development agencies like GIZ, who I have to say I'm very grateful to them because they open doors for us. Opening door to who? To what we call in the ecosystem the venture builders. Venture builders, if you know, venture studios, these are people in the ecosystem who are so much knowledgeable about what's happening. So they can help you find funders, they can help you find founders, innovators. They understand the ecosystem. So us, being a technology company, doing our stuff on our own, we realized that we needed people like that to have access to the ecosystem. And that access to the ecosystem means those innovators in Africa working on some problem statements, but not necessarily having I say the full expertise to develop them. So we kind of work together, topic like healthcare, topic like agriculture, topic like circular economy, because you can imagine a company like Bosch, we are very strong in sensor technology. So you have startup in the region working on productivity for agriculture, but maybe not having the full knowledge of how you can make use of a sensor. For example, to measure the soil content. How can you make use of a sensor to survey maybe, the soil? So at the end of the day, I would say it's a very good experience. You understood that we can't be the solution, fortunately, but we need other actors, we need other puzzle pieces to make the solution happen. So venture builders, very much important to understand the ecosystem and for us to achieve what we want to achieve. So that's what I wanted to share, sir. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
I'm from Science for Africa Foundation. The foundation supports scientists on the African continent. And over the last 5 years, we've probably supported maybe 4,000 scientists do various different things in health, in climate and environment, in agriculture. The interesting thing that is there around mindset shift, and I think, was it Tendai who was speaking about mindset shift, is the scientists on the continent do science for the sake of publishing, okay? And yet we, on the other hand, are pushing them to do science for the sake of product development. Now, what we've discovered is that the product development capabilities on the continent are not as good as we would like them to be. So therefore, we are currently putting together a strategy, new thinking, about how best we can be able to assist our scientists on the continent to think about product development. And it is this area, if you think about it, we will need much more collaboration or groups that have got this particular capability to work with us to the extent that once we identify ad hoc or bespoke needs within various different groups, then we can be able to give them that kind of support that is needed. Now, because of the fragmented innovation ecosystems that are there on the continent, we think and believe that mindset shift and the development of what we are calling the entrepreneurial scientist, which means that the drive will come from the agent rather than the drive coming from institutions. Because what has been happening over the last 10, 15 years is that from the funding that we've been giving, the applications that we get, sometimes we do get the feeling that the applications are more of livelihood protection for the scientist rather than innovation building. And that's a big problem. So the question therefore becomes, how do we convert the mindset of the scientist to change them to entrepreneurial scientists? Of course, there's a lot against a scientist working on the African continent to the extent that there are broken systems, they're broken, and it's simple things, but they're also complex. So if I was to give you an example, if you're sat in a university in Kenya, and then you have an idea, you patent it, first of all, your patent money or patenting money has to come from your own pocket. Your university will not give it to you. And then what will happen next is that if you decide to form a company and put your patent behind that particular company, you will be charged for conflict of interest, okay? Rather than you being promoted to actually get that working. So it becomes very, very difficult to build innovations if you think about it that way. And yet, at the moment, we know from the work that we've been doing at Science for Africa Foundation that innovations that are sat within for-profit organizations that we've been working with move faster and quicker than innovations that are sat within NGOs, within research institutions, and within universities. So it's that mindset shift that we are really, really pushing for. At the moment, we've got 2 tools that we are going to be using to identify the correct mindset and then build a training curriculum that goes towards mindset development. So thanks.
Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of this session. Thank you so much to all colleagues who shared. I noted down 4 insights so far from our learning journey from the perspectives of funders, but in the interest of time, I will just share one, picking very much up on the point on inclusiveness. What we've seen as good practice among funders in collaboration with national partners is to be really explicit about inclusiveness and not only have it as an aspirational, somewhat vague statement, but to break it down. What kind of inclusivity are we talking about, and what are the trade-offs? Are we thinking of spatial inclusiveness? Are we investing, where there's a strong argument to be made, in a place-based ecosystem in the major cities, right, where the connectivity is a conducive driver for innovation? Or are we investing in rural regions and grassroots innovations? Both are valid decisions, but most likely you have to choose. Those are trade-offs. Let's make them explicit. Are we investing primarily in inclusive outcomes for persons with disabilities and tools really designed for young people? Or are we investing in inclusive processes with the ambition to get to inclusive outcomes? One might lead to another, but not automatically. They're trade-offs, right? Are we investing in startups for specific reasons, or in medium-sized enterprises and their innovation capabilities, where there's probably a higher chance that they might scale and have a higher employability rate? So what we've seen in summary is the good practices really break down inclusiveness. We've developed a framework at the OECD. There are others, and are really explicit about the trade-offs in program design in conversation with national partners. I'll keep it to that. Say thank you. I'm going to hand over to Joe to wrap the session up.
Thank you so much, Ben. Jite, I've lost my Mentimeter slide. So we wanted to finish on a Mentimeter. I also wanted to say thank you to everyone who contributed. It was very interesting to hear what our colleague from SFA was saying on incentives and disincentives for scientists to work in different ways. As part of the learning journey itself, this is my little plug, we would really like to talk to some of the external people who are sitting outside the ATIP program. And on this leaflet that we've handed out, there's information about a drop-in session that we're hosting at the Social House, which I think many of you are staying at, from 2 to 4 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon. Me and Chucks will be there. We'd be really interested to hear your further reflections on this topic. And I think I'm also going to continue to go around the audience trying to get contact details, because we really would like to interview people from the wider system. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Please do complete the Mentimeter if you can. I don't have any means to share the results, but please do complete it anyway. Perhaps we can work out a way with the organisers to share the results later. Thank you so much, everyone.